Hey everyone, it's Daniel, and this is day 6 of my 30-day video challenge. And today I'm going to talk about a little personal growth experiment that I did this week. It's very small, it's a very tiny thing, but it seems to be kind of a good example, a good teaching moment. So I wanted to talk about it. And the context for this is really just talking about how it's kind of about alignment between our brain, our rationality, and our emotions and our body. And I guess what I'm trying to say about this topic is that sometimes when we make up our mind, sometimes when we undertake a personal growth challenge, our body and our emotions have not yet adjusted or gotten the message. So there can be some resistance or some feedback, and it can kind of pop up in the most unexpected places, in the smallest ways. So something happened to me this week where I kind of challenged myself, and then I went into the situation where I was going to have to complete the challenge, and I kind of reacted with anxiety, with a little bit of fear, with a little bit of trepidation. Even though I had completely made up my mind, I was already going to do this challenge. I was already going to do it. My emotional, my limbic system, and my previous conditioning kind of wanted me to back away from that challenge. Started sending me some fear signals and looking for a way out. So so this lesson is really about just making up your mind is really only half the challenge. And then you still have to work on kind of fleshing that out in the world and embodying it. And kind of, to a certain extent, just overcoming the fear, just getting used to being in situations where you might be a little bit afraid. So one important thing here is that fear is not necessarily an indication that you should stop or move backwards or not proceed. It's just information coming from your limbic system, coming from the deep parts of your brain, telling you that you're in a situation that is novel or has some element of chaos in it. So, right, it's just a signal. It's just a signal from your brain telling you that, oh wow, you're in a situation where you're not already fully competent. So it can be a signal to just proceed with caution. It could be a signal to to prepare a little more, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should give up. It doesn't mean that you should stop. It doesn't mean that you should turn around and run away. Even though that's what the content of the fear is always saying. The fear is always saying you should run away, you should leave, you should get the hell out of here. But it's just a signal. It's just energy. It's just signals in your brain, and you can choose how to respond to them. So I'll tell you a little bit about this story. I was having a conversation this weekend, or earlier this week, with a friend, kind of a coaching conversation, and it came up that I recognized that in a way the clothing that I wear perhaps I was using it as a shield or a kind of a way of hiding my body a little bit, or hiding my true self, if you want to call it that. And I actually had some pretty legitimate reasons for doing this. I'm a math teacher, and for about 8 years I worked at a place that had a pretty, they had a dress code, so there was kind of a certain expectation for how math teachers are supposed to dress themselves. And what came up in this conversation with my friend was that perhaps I had over-identified with this part of myself that was a math teacher, and I went into my closet and realized that all of my clothes kind of would fit the dress code for a math teacher at this place. And I guess I had realized for the past few years I had kind of been selectively choosing my wardrobe to kind of to fit myself to that particular cultural identity. So the challenge was I was going to go out and basically buy a new shirt. I was going to buy a shirt that was a little more maybe tight fitting, a little more colorful, a little more flamboyant perhaps, and just something that I liked as opposed to something that would be appropriate, right? So, so I was just gonna go buy a shirt that I liked, and I went to a thrift store right by my house up the street, and I walked into the aisle with the men's shirts, and I started looking, and yeah, it's funny. I think I probably wouldn't even have noticed this if I hadn't made up such my mind deliberately that I was gonna go do this. And also, I've been, the last several years meditating a lot and practicing mindfulness. So I was going into the store already pretty clear about what I wanted to do, but also mindfully, like paying attention to what was going on in my head and what was going on in my body. And I noticed that, I was kind of flipping through the racks, looking for shirts in particular. That was going to be my first step. Was I'm going to go buy a shirt that I really like, that maybe is a little more form fitting than I would think would be culturally appropriate or whatever. But I'm going to get something that I like. So I was flipping through the racks, and kind of 10 shirts down or something, maybe a foot away from me, I saw this bright kind of floral, colorful shirt, and I had this moment of reaction. I looked down the aisles, I looked both ways, and I was like, I was actually scared on a small level. It wasn't like a terrifying fear, but I was like a little bit anxious that that I would, that someone would see me buying this shirt and that I would embarrass myself. So it was kind of an interesting moment. And yeah, so I decided to buy the shirt, and that's kind of the end of the story, was that I noticed myself reacting, and then I was able to overcome it. I guess probably in the past few years as I was shopping, maybe I had conditioned myself or kind of mentally prepared to become embarrassed for liking certain shirts or certain clothing. So I caught myself in the act, and it was really interesting. It was so interesting because I thought I had already made up my mind of what I was going to do. And what I was going to do is, go buy this shirt. And I got all the way to the store, I got all the way to the aisle, and then I found myself still kind of reacting out of anxiety. So really, I think the message of this story, and the reason that I'm telling it, is that just because you've made up your mind cognitively that you're going to do something doesn't mean that that your emotions or that your body, kind of your muscle memory, the other centers of intelligence in your body don't necessarily agree. So there's still work to be done. There was still work to be done because I went into that store, and if I had reacted to the fear, I wouldn't have bought the shirt. So I considered it a victory that I was able to catch myself going, oh, I'm a little nervous about that, but I just did it anyways. I took that signal, and instead of reacting to it and doing what the fear wanted, which was to kind of hide, walk away, go to a different aisle, pretend I wasn't interested, what I did instead was I just interpreted that as this is a sign that, well, for one, that I need to look at this shirt, but kind of in the bigger picture, that these emotions are indicating kind of when we're getting close to the source of the thing that we need to do. Like that game where a person closes their eyes and you say warmer or colder, you can use your anxiety, you can use your fear as an indication that you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer. So my message for this, my lesson for this is, use your emotions to tell when you're getting warmer, and don't turn away from them. You turn towards them, and kind of put yourself out there. Do something that makes you anxious. Do something that makes you do something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable, and push that edge, because every time that you do something that makes you a little uncomfortable and you survive, then you get a little stronger. You know, you don't get less afraid, but you start to realize that fear is not necessarily an obstacle to get what you want or to get what you need. So this can be profoundly liberating, and like you see, like just doing it on this tiny micro scale, like buying a shirt, or you know, going to the grocery store and going down the health food aisle instead of going to the cookie aisle, or whatever it is. You know, you can do something that'll just push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. You'll get a little bit of that fear and anxiety, but then, you know, every time you override it, you get a little stronger, you get a little more confident, you get a little more sure of yourself that, you know, it's okay to be uncomfortable sometimes. And actually, that energy starts to transmute itself into kind of excitement. So, and actually, to my knowledge, there's been some studies coming out recently that, as far as your brain is concerned, anxiety and excitement are actually the same thing, the same emotion, the same physiological response. The only difference is how, you know, the narrative that's going on in our head about it. So you can always channel that anxious energy into kind of proof that you're on the edge of something, you know, something good, something big is about to happen. And you don't have to run away from it. You can get excited. You can turn towards it, and find out that you're stronger than you thought before. So I hope this video was helpful. We'll keep it short today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay woke.